Day one of Who is Elijah was me taking photos of my one product and uploading it to Shopify, pressing go live, and then crickets, literally crickets.
Of course, no one's going to buy it online. No one knows it yet. Like, how do you sell a smell?
One day just started walking into like boutique stores in Sydney and like 9 out of 10 of them like said yes. 2 years in, we're probably doing like $40,000 a month.
But just because you're growing revenue doesn't mean you're growing profit.
Yeah.
Our revenue was growing, but our profit was going the other way. You have to be so like disciplined with like what is actually happening.
I don't know how we got to where we are today, everyone, but we somehow managed it. I guess that's kind of like leads into where the name came from. And it was called Raquel and Elijah. No one's name was Elijah. So one day I just said, who the fuck is Elijah?
Before we dive in, I want to extend a warm invitation to join our thriving Foundr community. It's the perfect place to discover more insightful interviews aimed at helping you build, grow, and scale your business. So don't forget to hit subscribe. Your support means the absolute world to us. Thank you so much for subscribing. Let's get stuck in today's discussion.
Hear the stories, learn the proven methods, and accelerate your growth and future through entrepreneurship. Welcome to the Foundr Podcast with Nathan Chan.
Wow, Raquel and Adam, thank you so much for joining us today on the Foundr Podcast.
Thank you.
Studio.
Thanks for having us.
You're welcome. You've come down from Sydney. It's always good to do interviews in person. Way better.
Yeah.
You can build just a better rapport, connection. So you guys have built this incredible brand, Who is Elijah. The first question I usually ask is, how did you get your job? But we're changing it up.
Okay.
Okay. So can you describe your first 60 days of business?
Okay.
First 60 days, like day one or like the first 60 days of like
Let's talk about launch. First 60 days post-launch, right?
crickets.
Yeah, crickets.
Literally crickets. Like day one of Who is Elijah was me taking photos of my one product on an iPhone and uploading it to Shopify and pressing go live or whatever the button was. And then nothing happened because I didn't do any marketing. But I remember my first sale, which would have been in the first 60 days. You probably remember it too.
Yeah.
I think I was pregnant and Adam came home. It was like 9 p.m. and I had like an order like packed on the dining table, like label printed and everything because I was so excited someone bought a 10 mil. I still remember the name. But then I feel like the first 60 days of maybe when we maybe when I went full time into the business, we were still working in our garage. We were I was 2 and a bit years in. We had one employee that I paid cash. And then we're moving into a storage unit in Cornell, like near Cronulla where we lived. And we were just about to launch into David Jones. But that's 2.5 years in, which I call day one.
Yeah. I mean, the storage shed was 1/3 the size of this setup that we're in now.
And so cold.
Cold and
Dark.
And
No
we had like
electricity.
one little shelf in there, probably the same size as the bookshelf. And there was like 4 products on it.
Thought I was killing it.
Yeah. But when David Jones happened, Adore Beauty happened, those were big moments for the business. And I think, momentum really kicked for us after that. Wholesalers started to take notice of us. We started to make more content online. When we were selling in David Jones, it was a big moment for Raquel, to be fair. Like, she just walked into David Jones, found the buyers online in LinkedIn, hustled them, just said, here's my product, put it in your shelves. They just said yes.
Without smelling it. But you're kind of living out a lot. I DM'd the buyer on LinkedIn and she wrote back within like a day or two. And then she said, oh, look, this sounds really great. Can you send me a brand deck? And I was like, what the fuck is a brand deck? I don't know what a brand deck is. But then I was still working full time at the time. So I went to like my marketing team that worked there. And I said, oh, like, can you help me build like a brand deck? Like this person wants a brand deck. And I was like kind of hiding the fact that I had a business on the side, but some of like my work friends knew. And I just sort of paid them on the side and they made a brand deck for me. So the marketing manager and a graphic designer. And I sent it to David Jones like within like 5 days. And they said it was the best brand deck they've ever seen. And they said yes straight away. And then I was like, can I send you samples? And they're like, oh yeah, like if you want, but we can launch on this date.
Wow.
So that was pretty cool. And I still speak to that buyer now. She doesn't do fragrance anymore, but she still works with David Jones. And now we're like one of David Jones' like best-selling fragrances.
Yeah, and doing that now, getting into a new retailer is
it's so much harder.
It takes 12 months.
Yeah.
That happened in 5 days, which is like unheard of. Yeah.
Well, you don't know if you don't ask though, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how'd you guys come up with the brand? So it took a couple of years to get traction. How'd you guys come up with the brand? How'd you come up with the idea? Why'd you decide to?
I was partying my little butt off at Coachella. I had just asked Adam to be my boyfriend. He was too scared to ask me. But we coincidentally had the same trip book. He was going on a Bucks party, which is maybe why he didn't want to ask me to be his girlfriend. But we were both going to Vegas and we were both going to Coachella, same hotel. Like, so meant to be.
Yeah.
But I went with my friends, and one of my friends brought along a friend from Queensland, and she just smelled amazing. So then I took a photo of it, and when I got back home to Sydney, I tracked down this oil perfume that was from India. I bought like 40 bottles of it because I had to buy it at Wholesale. That was the only way I could buy it. And then I started wearing it like to bars, restaurants, just like anywhere I went. And so many people were coming up to me, like tapping me on the shoulder and asking, like, excuse me, what fragrance are you wearing? Because it was so strong, wasn't it? And like very unique. And that was sort of like what sparked the idea to do it. That's a whole other story in itself, but that's sort of like the origin story. And then I actually started it with a friend who I went to Coachella with, Matt. I love you, Matt. But he decided very early on that he didn't think it was going to go anywhere and didn't want to go ahead with it. When it came down to, I think like when it comes down to having to like financially put into a business, I guess that's, makes people think a little bit more about it.
And it was like day one. Like
it was so very early on. It wasn't even called Who Was Elijah, then it was called Raquel and Elijah. So then, so Matt decided to not move forward with it. But he would have been a great business partner because he's so good in retail. So he's like one of like the head buyers for Tommy Hilfiger now. But he still helps me. He's still my best friend and he helps us a lot. I feel like he'll work for us one day and like as like a GM, like he'd be an amazing GM. But I guess that's kind of like leads into where the name came from. No one's name was Elijah. So one day I just said, who the fuck is Elijah? The name just kind of stuck. But that's sort of like the origin story.
And so how long did it take for you to go from idea, you said you're working with Matt first, to actually launching in 2019?
We launched October 2018. Coachella was April 2017.
Okay.
And then it was sort of like a couple of months after Coachella, like just over a year.
Yeah.
From when I said like, I think this could be something to launch, was maybe just over a year.
Yep. Okay. So it took about a year to bring the product to life.
Find a perfumer.
Yeah. Talk us through that process because people are always really curious because it looks really intimidating. To launch a physical product like a fragrance, make it unique. You said you found the wholesaler or you wholesaling
the oil fragrance.
Yeah. So talk us through that.
Yeah, that was a journey. Lots of tears actually. Yeah. I was pregnant as well, so I was hormonal. Or was I pregnant? Yeah, no, I wasn't. Sorry, I wasn't at the start. Finding a perfumer was actually quite easy in Sydney, but then that's a whole other story as well that we should talk about.
Yeah,
we'll come back.
Tell us.
Tell this one now. So I found a perfumer in Sydney, quite easily, and we worked with him for like probably 2.5 to 3 years. And then I always said to Adam, I don't think he's a perfumer. Like, I don't think he's the perfumer. And I said it for so long because he wouldn't give us the IP to
the recipe,
the recipe,
the makeup of the product,
because we needed it because we were registering our products overseas in the UK and Europe, and it's like quite a hectic process. And they were asking for like the full IP, and I'm like, well, we don't own it, like it's not ours. And this guy wouldn't give it to us, and he's like, and then I was like, fucking like he doesn't own it, like otherwise like because we were like, we'll give you whatever money you want, and he's like, no, and I'm like, everyone has a price. And then I was like, he mustn't own it, it's not his to give then. Anyway, turns out he wasn't the perfumer. He was like the middleman and getting it made by the perfumer who we now work with.
But his middleman, and there's nothing wrong with being a middleman, right? Because lots of them.
Just that he was deceitful about it.
He had a website that said he had 170 years of family history in the fragrance industry, and it was deep to his core of who he was and all of that. And it, he
really was believable.
Believable. And every time we'd meet him, like it was at a WeWork office or something like that. Nothing wrong with that, but like sort of wasn't starting to piece together.
Yeah.
And then we had a call with him about like the next products that were coming. And I looked at the background of the call. I'm like, that's a fake setup. Like he had he had
a lab coat on.
So the girl had a lab coat on and she was walking around this like circle table with like product displayed all over it. I'm like, because we started thinking about like, this is not adding up.
This is not right.
And then I'm like pausing the video. I'm like, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
So we got off the call and we're like, something's fully up with this.
Mm.
And then obviously we get lots of people reach out to us, throughout the process once they see the brand.
Like suppliers and stuff.
They're like, we want to make your fragrance. We want to make your fragrance. And you never want to sort of disrupt that product because it's fragrance and it's so like, important that it stays the same all the time.
Mm.
So we say no to all these people that reach out all the time. And then one guy just was very persistent and he sent an email, he sent a DM to Raquel's personal page once. And he said, and at the time we're having a problem on
with
quality
Nomad.
control with Nomad, our bestseller. And he messaged Raquel and said, I know what's wrong with Nomad.
And like, obviously no one knows.
Can you please call me? I need to speak to you guys. And we were like,
I was in a meeting and I said, I stopped the meeting and go, Adam, this guy makes that fucking perfume. I know it. And he did. I called him. I was on the phone to him and he told me everything. Like our other perfumer, I just nearly said his name, our other fake perfumer, because we would get emails from like Sylvia, Amanda, like all these different people. They were all him just on fake emails. Yeah. So it was just him and his wife. And he was like charging us like triple the price.
And
he was actually, now that I talk about it, it's very angry at him.
Yeah, he was dictating like payment terms and things with us, even though those terms weren't what he was being provided by our now perfumer.
Yeah. We had to pay up front.
Every time we would launch a new product, he would say it's just more expensive because it's a new product, even though it wouldn't need to be. And he would say, I've got to source ingredients from Dubai and from all of these magical places around the world that just didn't simply exist. So for the first 2 years of Who's Elijah, we were catfished by our supplier. And the product was still good because it was getting made from the good guy, but just the way it was being filtered into us, like the payment terms were terrible. He was hard to work with. I had to just be super patient and just be like, well, this is our product. I'm just going to have to deal with this guy because I don't want to stop it now.
Yeah.
But
we had started looking at different perfumers and we were sending our perfumes to people to like try and see if they could match it to get the same scent, and no one could. But thank God for Brad. And Brad's like such an awesome dude to work with, isn't he? And our perfumer. Yeah. He's great. But yeah, that was kind of, that was a lot.
That was a lot. That's how it happened. And that first process, to go back to your question about how long it takes to bring a product to life. So in the beginning, the first one, it was 12 months, as we said. So it was, from idea, Raquel found the fragrance oil from India and wanted something similar or the same to be made. And then went to our then, fake perfumer.
And he sort of steered me away from that because it was a unique type of fragrance. And he said, I think like, you should make something a little bit more mainstream and like a bit more wearable to the masses, which was good advice, because then we created His Her, which was our bestseller for like 3 years and still one of our bestsellers. So
yeah.
But I feel like that process was actually quite quick. But then sourcing the bottles was actually okay. I found an Italian like online retailer, and I could buy 100 bottles at a time. And I think they weren't like, they're a lot more than what we pay now, but it was still like a good price. I forget how much it was. But then we had to figure out like, I didn't bring a perfume bottle, but like you know, like the spray is like that gets like crimped onto the bottle so it doesn't come off, right?
Yes.
And we bought a machine from China and had to have like a generator or something in our spare bedroom in our apartment, and it didn't work.
Those loud generators you get from Bunnings to like do your car tires up. Like we had one of them going at like 10 o'clock at night trying to figure out how to like
didn't work.
crimp these perfume bottles for the first like 50 bottles that
And
that
for Adam had his own business. Like he wasn't who was Elijah then. He was just my boyfriend. And he tried to fix it so much. But then I ended up tracking down these like hand tools that did the same job from South Africa. We've still got them today. They sit on my desk as a reminder. But then I've got them. I thought when that machine didn't work, I was like, fuck, what am I going to do? Like the business is over. And then I found these little tools and they were like $200. And we used them for years.
There you go. So you guys effectively were hand making to bring the product to life.
Yeah.
That's right. So the fragrance was the liquid was made and we
got delivered to us.
Gets delivered to us, our little apartment in Cronulla.
Yep.
We get the glass bottles, the sprays, the lids, the labels.
Yes.
And
we'd fill
it by hand.
Yeah.
With like little syringes or little like
the reusable sauce bottles.
Yeah. And we had like this
them.
timber table where if it would spill, it would like wreck the table, and I'll put a mat down and all these little things. Like, you know, it was so intense at the time because we're trying to get our first orders out, Raquel's first orders out, and we had like, how do you fill a perfume bottle?
Yeah.
You know, into Google. That's how much
we didn't know. But it worked.
And, you know, I think that we just followed the demand that people liked the product. So we were going to keep going because we were continually told that people liked it, and we just figured it out.
And I think, look, that naivety is so incredibly important because if you guys knew, and I found this when I started Foundr, like if you actually knew how much was required, you wouldn't do it. And you approach things differently. And that different approach is what makes you and the brand different and what attracts people.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
So MOQ, talk to me, like what was the first minimum order quantity? Can you share kind of like how much it cost? And
so for fragrance, it's 20 liters because they come in 20 liter drums, which was fine. The bottles I think it was like 110 minimum that you could buy, which was like very low. And that's kind of it. And then I was like, I didn't have packaging back then, like proper perfume outer packaging. I just went on Pack Queen. I think it's actually in Melbourne. Everyone's probably heard of it. And just got like a Lalabo style brown box. I hand stamped it, put tissue paper in it, and I could just buy whatever I wanted of all of that. So the MOQs were essentially like 200 bottles, basing it off the fragrance quantity, but quite low. So very low risk. I was working full time, so it was quite easy. Like when I think about it now, like it was actually quite an easy start, but getting all the bits and pieces together of how to actually do it was a lot. And I probably should have gotten in trouble because I didn't have any ingredients on my packaging or any of that. So yeah, like I didn't know any of that. So like I didn't get into trouble, but and then it was just me and like these tools that we bought. Like Adam just renovated our kitchen and had this like beautiful, like nice stone. And he'd come home and I'm banging like the perfume bottle lids on the stone. And he's like, don't do that. But I do that at like 10 o'clock at night because I was working full time in the city and then coming home and like, I don't know, if I had like 30 bottles to fill, I thought like, oh my God, this is so much. But yeah, it was really cool. We should have filmed it. We didn't film any of this, which I like hate myself for because it would have been like so cool to see, to show everyone.
Yeah. Okay. So you said it took a while to get traction. So you got your first sale within what, 60 days?
Yeah, definitely within 60 days. But I reckon we got our first store within 60 days.
So we went in.
Oh, actually, no, that's a lie.
Yeah, I think it's important. Like that was 2017. 18. But like starting an Instagram account, you know, didn't have all the tools that there is now. Influencers were like probably peak effectiveness then. The High Smile guy, like that's around that time, right? And we were brand new to everything. So just no knowledge of how to or why to, and also no, like, how do you sell a smell?
Yeah.
Online.
Through a picture.
Yeah.
So we had to figure out, Raquel said, well, I need to get it into stores so that people can just go and smell it. And that's like the wholesale strategy just started on the back of, well, of course, no one's going to buy it online. No one knows it yet. We don't have thousands of dollars to give to influencers. We only just figured out how to make the thing. So let's like go and find some retailers that will stock it for us.
And we didn't even think of Facebook ads back then like that. I think about it now and I'm like, oh, we're so dumb. I don't know how we got to where we are today, everyone, but we somehow managed it. Yeah. Because we didn't start Facebook ads until like 2 years in. I just didn't even think.
That's a good way to go though, I reckon.
But I mean, it worked. But again, if we didn't do the wholesale strategy, we wouldn't be sitting here today for sure. But yeah, I just one day just started walking into like boutique stores like in Sydney, and like 9 out of 10 of them like said yes, which was really cool. And they were small orders, which was fine, but that started to grow. And then I think we got to like 2 years in when I left, right before David Jones, when I left my full-time job, we're probably doing like $40,000 a month.
Yeah.
In wholesale, which was like huge. And
there was probably 100 stores at that point.
Yeah.
And Raquel was still full-time. I wasn't in the business like officially.
Yep.
I was still running other things.
Yep.
And yeah, there would have been 100 stockists at that time. Yeah.
So it was like I felt comfortable leaving, but I sort of gave myself that goal, like if I can get into David Jones, I'll quit my job, because that was like the year of COVID.
Yes.
And I was just like sick of working for like rich old men. And I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I was like, I've got a good product. Like I know I can like make it. I just need to make a little bit more money. And then like, that's cool. And then so I got into David Jones and I was like, oh, shit, I thought that was going to take months. So I walked into the CEO's office and I was like, I'm going to leave. And he was disappointed, but I did love working there. And now like my old boss who also worked there, she now kind of works for us, which is cool. It's like as an like a consultant, but we became really good friends. She was a director of HR there, and then she left there as well around the same time. And yeah, it's full circle.
Yeah, there you go. So that's really interesting that the brand was doing like $40,000 a month, and it was only then you went full time. Can you talk us through that thinking? Because most people... It
all happened really close together, I think. But then COVID happened as well. So I think we're doing pretty good, but then COVID happened and obviously all the stores shut down.
Yeah. So just to back up, in the lead up to that, again, Raquel was full time, and I had a kitchen design company that was like, I'd been going for 8 years, and I had an app and a few other things that was going on that was like funding us. And Raquel's had a really good job that paid really well as an EA to these 4 C-suite guys. So it wasn't like, there wasn't a need for Raquel to go full time because like we needed money. We weren't like wealthy or anything. We just lived in a small apartment in Cronulla, and we didn't have kids or anything. So it was just, less risk. And it was more just out of like, well, the business is going now, and we do have a little bit of, safety behind us. Like, let's just go. And $40,000 a month was plenty, to keep us within our means of what we were doing. And, we had 100 stockists. So there was that part of us that was like, we believe that people want the product. Like, you're always constantly, I think these early founders, you're just unsure. You can't even believe that people will come and buy your product. When they do, it's so like rewarding and ensuring that we can keep going. This one extra person likes it, or this one retailer that this head buyer for this retailer is a significant buyer and they like it. So that must mean we're doing good. So we just sort of kept following that. We never took any like crazy risk and like anything based on like, well, we hope this retailer does this, so we're going to quit in the hope that they do this.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that. And I think sometimes founders can get a little bit caught up in the what they want their story to be and how they want to be as an entrepreneur versus like just what's actually happening and can I leap or can I not leap? So at the point, there was 100 stockists. David Jones was on board. Adore Beauty,
was near.
And their first purchase order was like.
So we launched with Adore Beauty in January 2021. So like 4-ish months after David Jones. And their first PO was probably like $10,000. But then they sold out like straight away, and then they ordered again and then again and again. And it's just like all of it sold out over like, was it like a 3 or 4 week period? Yeah. And probably all of that money was probably like $60,000-$70,000. But we spent all of that money on getting air freight because we didn't have the stock. So we didn't make any money, but it was like we didn't want to not fulfill those orders because it was like going on such a roll. But yeah, so I think like a lot of like the start of the business, we were making good money, but we were not knowing how to use the money properly. Like we were air freighting a lot because we didn't have enough money to buy the packaging up front, like 10,000 units. My parents gave me a little bit of money and that helped, but we were just air freighting everything. So we were like making no profit. But it was, I was like thinking it's nice to like reflect back on it. But it was, I don't regret it because we built the brand from that point quite quickly, it felt like. But with like Adore Beauty was a really big help. Like they really got behind our brand and like their community is so loyal to them. So we're still with Adore Beauty now, and like we grew really big with them.
I think what Adore Beauty showed us that we didn't believe was that perfume could be sold online.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're online only. And we hadn't figured it out yet. We were selling online at the time. It would have been about 80% wholesale, 20% online. So 20 grand a month, maybe online, like maybe. Like, we were still thinking $1,000 a day, we could do that easily online. And it was
that was the goal.
It was so much further away than we thought. But they proved to us it could be sold at somewhat scale online. And we took some tips and tricks from them. They had a risk-free purchase. So you buy the perfume because of course you don't know what it smells like. They would give 2 ml free sample with every order. And if you test the sample and you don't like it, send it back.
So that's into the samples.
That's when we clicked for us. We're like, well, we'll do that too.
Because we're doing it for them.
Because we're doing it for them, so let's do it for us.
Yes.
So we figured out how to get samples done correctly, and we do that all in-house anyway. So we turned the messaging onto our site to be like that.
Yes.
I think it was at that time we started doing the influencer stuff too, right?
Well, we did influencers on it like when COVID happened.
Yep.
We had 300 stockists at the time.
Yep.
80% of revenue gone overnight. See you later. And committed to staff, and we had stock and we had plans, right? Like everyone. So just have to deal with it and move on. And obviously in hindsight, online was essentially going to boom, but no one knew at the time what was going to happen. So we had just started to figure out how to do online, how to post properly on Instagram. Like this sounds so stupid, but like this was 2020. Like, and we were just figuring out how to make money online. And we'd already made organic, everything was organic at the time, which was great. So we went into, I think, one of the Hembrow.
Emily Hembrow. We gifted her, and she did a post, and coincidentally, we were having an after payday sale or something.
Yeah.
And we did like $40,000 in like 2 days, and we were like, "What?
We can do it." Yeah.
We can do it. So that was a sliding door moment for us, and then that's when we really started to like.
We had no choice about retail, right? Because it was shut. So we just had to be online. And we leaned into influencers right at the end of the peak, 2020, 2021.
Yes.
UGC was just becoming the new thing. And we also had a product, which we still have, called our Discovery Set. Again, on the back of the samples, working, let's put all the samples in one product. And let's like give that product away for free, because you can't give a t-shirt away. Like a t-shirt brand can't sample a t-shirt. We can sample fragrance. So let's lean into that. So we got these influencers to start doing Discovery Set giveaways.
Yes. Oh.
right? So it was, we would not be trying to make revenue from their post, even though that was good. We were giving the discovery sets away for free, which turns out we learned later was not the right thing to do financially.
But it did
the
build our
cost of-
customer base
It built our
up.
customer base. We were giving away almost 1,000, maybe 2,000 a month.
Wow.
So straight away on the back of COVID and all of that, that was our plan. That's what helped us get the product into people's hands. Obviously, during COVID, people still bought like things for themselves. Even though they were at home, perfume was one of those things that people just kept buying. Even though they had nowhere to go, they still wanted to smell nice. So that discovery set product was huge. Leaning into influencers was really big at that time. That gave us confidence online. Then Wholesale opened back up, and it was
And
just
that really
like,
grew.
then straight away we went from, managing a somewhat small-ish thing, maybe $1 million a year, and the next year, the following year was like 6 or 7 million, because we sort of figured out we can sell online, we do it through influencers, discovery set, retailers like our product, build the team, let's go. Yeah.
Sounds easy. There's a lot in between all of that.
And there's a lot in between all that. And now it's like, now we're unraveling that. So yeah, there's lots of things now.
Hey guys, I really hope you're feeling inspired from today's interview. Now, the truth is, all successful e-commerce founders started from zero, with a spark of an idea and a whole lot of determination. But let's be real, building or growing an e-commerce business is no walk in the park. And that's where Foundr Plus comes in, which I'm really excited to share with you. It's a culmination of a decade worth of work at Foundr. So if you're feeling stuck in your e-commerce business, you're lacking confidence to move forward, or you're worried about making costly mistakes or not knowing how to grow your business, Foundr Plus is here to support you on your journey. You get access to a customized learning pathway with proven frameworks from successful e-commerce founders for fast results, incredible programs, a supportive community, weekly live mentorship, exclusive savings on startup tools, and 24/7 real human support. Try Foundr Plus today for just $1 for 7 days so you can accelerate your business goals. Visit foundr.com/start $trial or click the link in the description to claim your trial. All right, now let's jump back in the show. You said also interesting, you said the discovery set, working with influencers, giving them away was a bad move in the end.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was bad. I'll let Adam talk about this, but it's something that we've sort of like discovered recently.
Yeah.
I'll let you talk about it.
Yeah. So as a business scales, like these costs associated to different moving parts can become significant when we're talking about much higher volumes, right? So we knew that Discovery Set was a wanted product and it was an introductory offer into the brand. So like, how do we get it to as many people as possible? At this point in time, the business is, pretty much every small boutique in Australia has Who's Elijah in it. And Priceline is circling, Adore Beauty is killing it, David Jones is outselling Creed, Aventus. And we're like, let's go, right? So we decide not that long ago that let's give away 1 million discovery sets. Right, this was the plan. Thank God we didn't get to half. We didn't even get to a tenth of it. But let's give away 1 million discovery sets, right?
Yeah.
Because it's low cost of goods, and it's an introductory product. People love it, and we'll just be really good at bringing them back in through our own channels, email, SMS, Instagram, whatever it is. Let's just get the product into people's hands because it's our biggest weapon. And what we did in America, we turned on a free discovery set post.
Like ads,
free discovery set, guys. We had about 2,000 of them over there and turned it on overnight. It was $1 acquisition on Facebook, $1. And I'm like, oh my God, this is going to go.
And the customers just paid for shipping. So it was $7.
Paid for shipping.
So you're breaking even.
So we're breaking even, right?
Not really.
We're breaking even on raw product costs. So
okay. But
right,
not on the acquisition.
But not
and shipping.
So shipping was getting us, fulfillment was getting us, and distribution to get to the 3PLs was getting us. When you go from doing that to 100 or 200 people, it's not too bad. 6,000 orders in 3 hours, turn it off quickly.
Yeah.
First thing is we're out of stock over there. We've got to get 4,000 units over there tomorrow. That didn't happen.
It took us like a month.
Took us too long to do it. And all of these extra costs that like fulfillment, pick and pack and all these things went from being a $5,000, expense to $50,000, $100,000, $150,000. This has just cost us to do this exercise because we didn't charge anything for it, you idiots. Right? So you got to use it as a learning, right?
And we pissed off a lot of people, I think, as well, because the delivery wasn't quick, which we're very proud that we do quick delivery, but we didn't know that. I think at the end it was like 7,000 discovery sets over in like less than a week.
Yeah.
And so
it
takes a long time for us to fill that many discovery sets because it's like.
So we had to go into hiding again and fix it.
Yeah.
But also take a breath with a good team and think, what was the positives of it? People wanted it. And then we dive further into it. Were they the right people?
Or did they just want a free product?
Or did they just want a freebie? Right?
Yeah, it's very different customer.
That's right. So our brand is accessible luxury to someone who has somewhat of disposable income. So they're earning good money. They like to look after themselves. They're young and, they like to keep up with brands and trends. Not a free, a free product that we're just going to essentially throw out on the street to someone. Essentially, that's what it sort of was doing, right? So then we switched it up. We waited 4 or 5 weeks and we thought we would change it to free work, but let's make it seem free, but not actually be free. So they can pay $30 for it and we'll give them a $30 voucher.
To go towards a 100 ml or a 50 ml bottle.
To go towards a 100 ml or 50 ml bottle. And then we thought that was working, but essentially it's still free, right? So we're not really making revenue from it. The $30, the cost of goods on it is 35%, 40% now because the original cost is based off a $100 product. Now it's only $30. 50% of our sales came from that product. So all of a sudden our cost of goods has gone up to 35%. That hurts, right? And then our fulfillment cost as a percentage has just gone through the roof. So our total cost of sale has gone. And in a 6-week period, you have to really be careful here because now we're doing 20,000 a month. This is hurting us badly. So,
and this is current. This is what we're dealing with right now.
Current times, So we last week pulled all the unit economics apart from it, did all of the customer analysis on it. Who are they? What is the lifetime value of some of these people? Is this product cannibalizing our business? Even though it was a product we thought was the best product for our business. And then we look at someone that comes in and just buys a 100 ml product straight out of the gate, doesn't need to sample it because it's that type of customer. Disposable income, likes trends, will spend money and doesn't matter. That person's lifetime value is huge. The person who buys this discovery set at $30 or even full price, that person never comes back and spends. So it's not until you start to figure this stuff out that you start to unravel these questions. And that's what business is, right? We've always got to be asking these questions. So, it's very important that you look at this all the time and not just think something that's producing revenue,
or getting new
customers is the best thing for your business. So it was a lot of
forever learning,
right?
That's the game.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So it's been a lot of that these last 12 months, but there's a lot before that, it's got us to this point where we can test those things. But it's been a lot of that this year.
I think one of our biggest regrets that we've discovered lately, it's we speak to other business owners and they've got 3 people in their team and we've got 40 and it's that's a lot of people. Not saying that we're changing that, but I think there's things that we would have changed of being a lot more lean and outsourcing maybe a little bit more. And I think learning, we can get the same job done with 10 people in the warehouse versus 20. So it's let's have 10 then. And this learning.
Yeah, I think we you can get caught in this this growth mindset. And growth doesn't, just because you're growing revenue doesn't mean you're growing profit. And for us, is actually going the opposite way. Our revenue was growing, but our profit was going the other way, because we weren't like focusing on these bigger questions that get highlighted to you when you start to get to these bigger revenue numbers, because you see the impact of them. So it was, instead of having, like Raquel said it good the other day, she's like, it's not a flex to have 40 people. It's a flex to have 4 people to do this. It's not a flex to have all this cool stuff. It's a flex to have revenue without all the cool stuff.
Yeah.
So it's just,
we're going backwards in a good way, though.
It's just like getting back to this rebuilding phase. Fortunately, we have this viral product that people love. It's a great product. And we have a good team that we can do this with now. And now we can feel like, we keep saying it, but we go back to day one.
We want
again.
day one again.
Yeah.
We said we're going to start day one again this month.
Yep.
And then, because it's like day one of the next phase of the business. Like at lunch yesterday, we were talking, like, we just hired a head of marketing, and she was the global head of marketing for GHD in the UK. Like, that's fucking cool. Like, we've got someone with a lot of experience that sits in our office. We need to utilize that. And like, she's great.
Right,
but we need to get her a marketing manager, because I feel like she's like spending all of her time doing like the nitty gritty, not like the big stuff. So just like those sort of changes. But yeah, we sort of said to Lucy yesterday, we're like, let's start day one again. Like, imagine like starting a business with, you've got a bit of money, you've got a really good product, you've already got customers, like
great brand.
Got a great brand, like
a lot of trust.
A lot of trust. Like, let's start day one again, like day one phase fucking 25.
Yeah.
But that's sort of like, and I feel like nothing gets us down, which I feel like is really good about us. Like, we'll go through like a really tough thing in the business, and we'll just look at each other and be like, all right, what is this teaching us?
Yeah.
Let's get out of it. And we actually get excited about it almost. It's like this like weird thrill thing that we have.
You get this like sense of
excited
relief,
about the next.
of relief, and it's like we're both very aligned with each other. Obviously, we're in it every day together, so it's easy for us to have these big, conversations 24 hours a day, because we're right next to each other all the time. So, we get to this point, we both get this sense of like, this is the right move to make, and it's not like a 1 hour meeting that has to happen over 5 weeks. We can have 5 hours of conversations together very quickly to make these changes.
Yeah, look, I really appreciate your honesty, guys, because
sometimes we get a bit too honest.
no, this is good, because like honestly, I've been there too, right? Like when you meet somebody and you say, oh, I run this company, a lot of the times the first question somebody asks, how big is your team?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And why do they ask that?
They think that's more money.
Because in our culture, for whatever reason, societal norms, it's like, oh, if you have a lot of people, that means you must be doing well.
Yeah.
Right? And so you get caught up in that crap. It's like, oh yeah, I've got 40, 50 people. And I go, oh wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
That feels good.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't anymore.
No, and like I've been there too. Like more people, more problems.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and look, especially when you're first starting, it is hard to scale a business. And these are all lessons, like I've spoken to so many founders. This is a common thing that happens, right? You hire all these people, you get caught up in the excitement of growth, and then you go, okay, wow, profit's not what it used to be. We're not making the same margins. We've got to kind of how to get more efficient, right? Because it becomes this huge bloated thing. So I appreciate the honesty.
Yeah. We're only 5 years in. Like, I think that because people tell you how good you are, and I think that that's like a bad thing. I'm always just searching for the truth, because there's truth in numbers, there's truth in what is actually happening. And it is good to come and chat with really good people, and when other people who have done things significant before tell you that you're on the right track, and that's great. But I think you have to be so like disciplined with like what is actually happening. And we've got to this point where probably the last 12 months ago, we were just like saying yes to everything. yes, let's launch into the UK, full send straight away, go.
Yeah.
Let's launch
Feel
into the
invincible, right?
Let's take the whole team to
let's
America.
Take the whole team here. Let's go this.
Yeah.
There's something happening in America. Let's go there.
Yeah,
you know,
so
and
dumb.
You just like you spend all this money and all this effort,
and nothing comes from it.
Gets you nowhere. And you know, yesterday we were talking, and I said we need to just make decisions that have impact. And it needs like boring words, but like control and impact. That's what good businesses have. They have control over their numbers, control over their teams, control over their outcomes, and all the decisions that they make, they have significant impact on the business. You can go through months and months of making these fluffy decisions about, you know, this thing here and this thing here. But if we just focus solely on a handful of decisions and a handful of things that need to be looked at, I think you'll find much, much greater progress than if we just try to spread ourselves too thin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like they say, simple scale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How can you
Million
keep
percent.
How can you keep it simple?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? And a lot of the time when you try and scale naturally, and this is a rite of passage, every founder goes through it, think, how can I do more? How can I add more?
Yeah.
And you feel invincible. When you get all these wins,
Yeah.
you feel like everything you touch turns to gold. I never forget. I've all the stuff you guys are talking about, I've been through as well.
Yeah.
And
How do we get out of it?
Yeah.
look, it's just
we're
learning,
doing
it's
it.
just time. It's just lessons, right? And I literally remember once someone wrote a post and they said, like, I launched something, and they literally wrote in a comment on Facebook saying, like, I swear everything Nathan touches turns to gold.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
And that's when you know,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's gotcha.
Yeah.
Right? And you just keep hiring more people, add, like all these different things, adding more products, all these different things. So I really appreciate your honesty, guys, because this is the real stuff. This is what happens. Because, you know, I've looked at the headlines. You guys have gone from 0 to 20 million in 5 years, or the business is valued at $20 million. And it's just like, well, you know, it's
It's tough. Yeah.
There's a lot in between all of that, isn't there?
Yeah. And, you know, fortunately, again, we have this great product at the bottom of all of it. You know, at the core of all of it is a great product. And if you have urgency and you really want to dive deep into what's going on, and then additionally, like, we are so excited about the future because of this new way of thinking for us. And it feels like a sense of relief, actually. And like that what we're now going to work on is going to be impactful for the business, because we are going to say no to most things, and we are going to make new products, and we are going to just lean on this great brand that we've built. Like, I say that we're so fortunate to have a good brand. Obviously, it didn't just come out of nowhere. We worked hard for it, but it's like a once in a lifetime thing when you can have this brand, this opportunity, this time, you know, social media, all of it that's happening right now. We're in the best driver's seat to be in. So like, I'm so grateful and excited about what's coming, because we're in this new frame of mind of like, thank you for everything that's happened to us. We've made every mistake under the sun.
We should write a book about that.
Have a podcast that's like the What Not to Do podcast. And then just keep going forward. Yeah.
And I think like, I feel like we say this a bit, but like, we'd rather it happen now than like maybe in 3 years when something bad could really happen. Because we're not in a position, like, we're nowhere near losing the business. Like, there's nothing, we've never been in a terrible position by all of these like mistakes that we've made. But like, you know, one day, like, if we hadn't learned it all now, like maybe in like 3 years time, like when there's more risk, maybe we had like 80 staff, and like that's a lot harder.
Yeah. And we have good people around us. So, you know, we have a really good advisor, Paul. He comes in once a month and he just calms us down.
Picks us apart.
Pulls it apart, throws everything on the table and says, guys, like, you guys are doing great still. But this,
we need
this,
to
and
fix,
this. We need to fix this, this, and this. And, you know, having good people around you, and for founders that are listening that are just starting out, it's hard to find these people because no one listens to you in the beginning. But you have to go searching for these people. You just have to, because if we had people like Paul on day one, or if we had any of these like basic fundamentals that we knew, that we now know on day one, oh my God.
Yeah,
game changer. Right? And it's obviously hard. There's people, there's courses, there's all of these things. There's a lot of noise. But I think you should invest in trying to find the right place to learn while you're still in the garage.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Because somebody else has done what you guys are doing, and they've seen those problems.
Yeah.
And if you can learn from that person, that is the best shortcut out there.
Yeah.
110%. If you try and figure out on yourself, you just move so much slower, right? So it's really like, when you think about the journey of entrepreneurship, it's like a personal development journey, right? Like where you're learning about yourself and all the things that you should be doing. And like the speed of learning, the speed in which you can learn is a reflection of the speed in which the business can grow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So key.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think you should intentionally do hard things, like comfort and balance, like doesn't produce growth. Like go hard at hard things, because I know for me personally, I'll always start in the gym. If I've got a problem, I'm going to the gym. I'm going to go do something really hard that's not associated to work, because then I can breathe and I can see things clearly, and then I'll come and apply it to work. There's something I've always used. Yeah.
So I'm curious, guys, what advice would you give to anyone listening, watching this, that want to start a fragrance brand? Like if you were to go again and start it, you've learned, you shared some great lessons on the sample kits and how aggressive you went there. But how would you do it again?
I think I did a podcast the other day and I spoke about this sort of, but I wish that we had not straight away gone into the heavily wholesale business model.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I feel like that has actually, I mean, you don't know unless you know, right? But we'll never can't redo it. But I feel like in some scenarios it has slowed us down actually. Just because I think it's slowed our growth overseas. Like a good example is we're in Sephora Australia and Sephora US. They operate as totally separate businesses, the Sephoras globally.
Yes.
And Sephora US actually reached out to me probably like 2 years ago now, and they found my perfume in a store in the Hamptons. And the buyer reached out to me and was like, wow, we found this product. Like, who are you? What is this?
Yeah.
And I talked to them, and I think they realized how small we were at that time. But we still talk to them to this day. And they just basically said, keep us updated, and, one day we hope to launch you. And then we got into Sephora Australia, I think it was January last year. And then so I was like, surely I'll get into Sephora US now. And it's and then they're like, oh, look, we can see your sales, and they're not what we want them to be. But when I look at our sales across Australia, like they're in the millions of dollars. But we just this week actually, we sent an email to cease wholesaling across Australia with all of our independents, like hundreds of stores.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and my reasoning behind it is we're spread so thin. So we're just going to focus on on David Jones and Sephora. So if we can get majority of those customers that were buying in independents to go and purchase from Sephora and David Jones, then I will get Sephora US, and that's like 1,000+ stores. So I think, more to that is I wish, and this is what we're doing in our other regions now in the UK, for example, is building the brand and letting the best retailers come to us, give us the best deal. Because if we're going to them, we're not getting a good margin. We have to run up a lot of marketing costs, but if it's vice versa, they'll pay for the marketing and you can negotiate better terms. So I would definitely do that better. And then obviously that building that strong D2C business model. And like, I feel like we could have be on a yacht if we had built it that way.
Yeah. I think that, the wholesale model. So this time last year, I just took on in January 2023, I took on the ads, the Facebook, the paid channels, because we had really bad agencies. There's all the stories of the agencies. Everyone has a story, right? But it also led us to this really good point. But we got rid of them. They were spending too much money. And to be fair, I didn't know how to read the account. So this is something that I would, if I was a founder, I would learn how to read an advertising account, Facebook advertising account.
Which isn't too hard.
Which is not too hard.
Yeah.
So for us, we were going through, we thought we were growing like crazy. Everything was happening, change agency, and, didn't work out with them. I decided that I would figure it out myself, found one of the communities, that's out there now, Ecom Equation it's called, which was awesome, and learned it. And in 4 weeks, I learned I was doing better than the agency that had 10 years experience and all of the bells and whistles and all of the 100x this or whatever. In 4 weeks, I learned how to press the buttons and do it. So then I ran the account for 12 months last year. I spent, over $1 million, 1.2 million in ads, which is something we had complete control over in-house. So I literally did every call to action, every bit of copy, every ad, every campaign, every ad set, all of it, and learned the process top to bottom. And I think any e-com founder needs to know that. Like if you have something that's going to move the needle in your business that you need to learn, it's that. Because you can then ask the agency, you can call the agency out. If you still need an agency, call the agency out, say, no, I think you're lying to me because I can read it and you're wrong. Or, hey, let's do this instead of this because what I see in the account is this. So then I took on some big campaigns. We did end of financial year and we did a huge big Black Friday campaign. And, $2.5 million on Black Friday that we ran the ad account by ourselves.
You spent $2.5 million.
We made
$2.5 million Black Friday on the weekend. That's impressive.
Yeah. So we were a brand that the year before we did 150 grand.
Yeah.
Like in sales. So that was a huge moment for us, taking back that control.
Yeah.
So
I think if Adam hadn't have done that, we wouldn't be where we are today either. I don't think we're now with an agency. Like we're with an agency now just for the help. But again, Adam is on every call. He's looking at everything. I don't think we would ever give our trust to anyone external to run our business for us anymore, because that is what has hurt us along the way.
Yeah.
Definitely. Like the only thing that's hurt it is doing that. So yeah, if anyone listening, like learn how to do it. And it doesn't mean you have to do it yourself forever because it is a big job, but knowing how to do it has saved us.
Especially when there's no risk, early days. Like when I took it on, it was the most risk time that we could possibly allow me to do it.
Yeah.
But I'm just one of those, I'll just learn something. If I see that the outcome of me learning it is significant to the business, then nothing else matters to me in that time when I'm learning. I don't care what's going on. This is the most important thing for us. So have to have that tunnel vision and not about just learning it and being proficient at it. Like I want to dominate at it and be able to push the business forward because of what I've learned. And that's the mentality I think that got us through last year. Not got us through, but like helped us dominate last year. Because, we will, I think, end up being about 400% up last year on the year before. And this year's still carrying at the same percentage. So on the back of having a really good online brand that we could execute advertising dollars on. It's good to be able to do it organically. We did it for the first 2 years organically, right? But now it's time to convert those people.
Yeah. So if you knew what you knew now and starting over again, you would have learnt Facebook ads, done it internally, and that would have really driven things as well.
Really driven things. So be selective with your wholesalers.
Yep.
Start before that, build a brand. And, this is build a brand to a brand new entrepreneur. It's such a broad term.
Yeah.
Go build a brand. Right. So that's very hard to do. But the steps, build it. It starts on a good product, right? Start with a good product.
Good content.
Use all the channels, obviously. And for us, PR is important, but for us, it's selective with your wholesalers, little amount as possible, and then learn the advertising channels. And I think if you have product, selective wholesalers, and know how to advertise,
you're off to a great start.
You're off to a really good start. Yeah.
So talk to me about good content. Like you guys did this really crazy viral video on Bondi. Where do you get these ideas from? What does good content look like to you guys? because now it's the thing, like the introduction of AI, it's much easier to edit, like all these different things. It's much easier to create like content, and having a personal brand now is almost become like essential for you to build your brand. 5-10 years ago, it was a bit of a novelty, but then you look at, Richard Branson or Elon Musk or, Sarah Blakely, like they've been doing it for a long time, but people are really catching on now. So more than ever, you've got personalities creating content, and more than ever, you've got companies pumping out content. What does good content look like? How do you guys get that cut through? How do you think about it? How do you approach it?
I feel like there's never been a time when we're like, oh, this is going to go like viral. Like the Ocean Eyes video, CGI video on the Bondi Beach. Like we got like nearly 40,000 followers from that one video. And like on Instagram, I think it's at like nearly 20 million views. Like we've never done that. And we thought it was just going to be a cool video because we've seen other people do it. And then, but this guy that did it, Zach, he did it so well. And we got a lot of hate from it because so many people thought it was real. And that we just let the bottle float into the ocean. I'm like, I don't know how to say this,
20
people.
20 stories high. We weren't going to let it float into the ocean.
Like we had people, because we went to Bondi Beach the day that we posted that to hand out samples.
Yep.
And we had people come up just being like, where's the bottle? And we're like, it's not real.
But some people, to be fair, some of my mates, I was like, yeah, just go down and check it out, man. It's there.
Some of our employees thought it was real.
Wow.
So, that was really good. We haven't been able to recreate that. Like we've done a couple videos since then and they haven't had the same effect, but just good timing, really good video. But again, like that's a trend that it's still there. It's still a thing, but I think it's like so many people are doing it now. It's like you just keep scrolling past it now. Like, otherwise it has to be like really good to be impactful. I think like me building my personal brand behind Who is Elijah has really helped. Like that, I get a lot of like people asking like, oh, were you just an influencer before? And I'm like, no, I had like maybe 1,000 followers. Like no one knew who I was. I was really shy at the beginning of Who is Elijah. But then I started to like get a little bit more confident. I got my teeth done. I hated my teeth. So like I was more confident talking on camera. And I think that has been a really big driver to the business, like doing podcasts. And I think because we are probably a little bit too raw and honest sometimes, like people really like that. And like I don't want to say they buy into the brand, but I think they like kind of respect us and like respect our brand, and they want to know more. And like we're inspiring to, Adam was a builder, and like, I mean, here in the business, that's being a little bit unfair to you, sorry. But like, we're just two people from Cronulla. Like we didn't have our parents helping us. Like we really did build this like from the ground up. So I think people like that, and they, people would rather buy from like a small brand than like the big mass brands, like now especially. And, we do have a good price and we have a really good product. And then like, how do we make our content creative? I mean, I'm on Instagram like 23 hours a day, just like looking for inspiration and making it our own. But like sometimes the most stupidest videos that we do the best. Like we'll pay $5,000 for a photo shoot, and like we need that content because we need it for the retailers. But that doesn't do anything for us. It's like us showing, like one of our best performing ads at the moment is me packing an order in our warehouse that I got my warehouse manager to film. So it's like I think showing like the raw, unfiltered, unedited content is what works for everyone. Or maybe not everyone, but definitely for us and a lot of people that I speak to.
Yeah, I think there needs to be a good mix.
Yeah.
And it needs to be a thought out mix. I think if we had just only warehouse videos of packing orders,
people would get bored.
People would get bored of it and think maybe this is a little bit tacky, and this brand isn't as luxury and exclusive as they say it is. So I think we have this good mix of big campaign shoots that really talk about, the product and storytelling and things like that. Raquel's personal brand on top of all of it. Raquel's the talent in, most of the content for the campaign shoots as well, which wasn't like a big strategy thing. But now when I look at lots of other brand stories, a lot of the founder content, hits the best. And it's the most resonating with the audiences as well, because Raquel's putting herself into the campaigns. She's got that confidence, which sort of talks to the customer about, this fragrance brand Raquel's gone from this, you know, not known person to now she's on billboards in David Jones. And that instills that confidence in people to come to the product, and maybe they can experience some of that when they buy the product. So I think people resonate with that a lot. And, you know, having a team, you know, we've got a
good creative
team. And I think that a young creative team, to be fair. So, you know, staying up with the trends and it's hard. Like, you never know what's going to happen, you know, on TikTok or what's going to go viral. So you just have to be ready. And not planning too far ahead, I think, is important with content. Like,
we don't really plan ahead.
We don't really plan. Maybe we know what's going on tomorrow, maybe.
I don't even know what I'm posting today.
And maybe, you know, obviously campaign stuff is booked in, but, you know, just volume stuff and
showing the realness.
Yeah.
Well, guys, we have to work towards wrapping up. We're going to move to the hot seat round.
Yep.
Cool.
Rapid fire questions and answers. I'd like to hear answers from each of you individually. Okay?
Yeah.
All right. How do you help each other become better founders?
Oh, I feel like Adam helps me more. I feel like we're a really good team, and like we're not like that cliche like husband and wife team. Like, I don't know, we do really help each other. And I'm like, what am I? I'm like rage, erratic, all like the craziness, and Adam's very calm and would never raise his voice, never swears. But we are like yin and yang, like really balance each other out. But at the end of the day, we have the same goal. Like our goals are exactly the same in life, both personally, kind of.
Yeah.
He's more like, what are you doing? 75 hard at the moment. But I think we balance each other out, and I feel like we both push each other to this big goal. And like we have big goals and big ambitions, which is, if we weren't the same, I think it wouldn't work either. So I feel like us just like pushing each other along.
Yeah, for me, I think it's like patience and also like support. So, well, I know not to sweat the small stuff, you know, because it's our relationship also. And in business anyway, don't sweat the small stuff anyway. Be patient and support the other person, you know, and, you know, be there for them. And same for your employees, support them and be there for them. So yeah, that's that.
Awesome. Thank you. What brand do you admire and why?
Oh, so many. You go first. No, so many. Hold on, you really put me on the spot here. There's so many good Australian brands. Like, I don't know if like Sir the Label, like they've done really well. I feel like, and us like small Aussie brands get so much praise overseas. I'm starting to see, like I see on TikTok a lot in the UK, brand founders there like taking inspiration from Australian brand owners that like they just don't have that over there. So I think like there's a lot of really good ones here. But then obviously like your big ones like Nike. I mean, like Nike's amazing. Like
I think just in the car on the way over, like Gymshark.
Oh yeah, Gymshark.
So
He's
like,
great.
I think that Ben's like, you know, he's a special guy. Yeah, and he's built a special brand. So yeah, I think that would be.
There's too many. There's a lot of good ones out there. Your brand.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Far too kind.
Sorry, I'm sitting next to one right now.
What's the simplest piece of advice that has changed your life the most?
Ooh.
Life happens for you and not to you.
Oh, that's a good one.
And that's a Tony Robbins quote, but it's so true. If you really just go into every day with that mindset, that I'm grateful for this, whatever's coming, I'm going to learn from, and I'm going to be better either way, then it's just, you can't lose.
Yeah. I'm going to second that, because we do talk about that a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of people need to listen to that, actually.
I agree. Like when you think about your hardest times in business or even in your personal life, when you look back with time, it ends up becoming a blessing in disguise.
Oh, for sure.
Every single time.
And I think that the more that you think like that, the time it takes to understand how quickly this is actually a blessing for you is much shorter.
Yeah, I agree.
So if you go into it and you're against it and it's happening to me and everything's against me, then you're a victim. It takes so long to get to that point where you're like, you know what, I actually needed that.
Yeah.
But if you're going to each moment with like, okay, what's going to come from this, and how am I going to learn? Then you'll see that like realization much quicker.
I agree. If you could have dinner with any entrepreneur, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Oh, mine's so silly, but I'm going to stick to it. Kris Jenner, she's a fucking marketing genius. I would love to have dinner with her and obviously sneak some bottles into her handbag to give to all of her family members. But I feel like she's a marketing genius. Like what she has done is, I mean, she's built $1 billion empire. So I think, I mean, there's so many other people, but she's one that I always say.
Yeah, and I thought about this morning. I would love to sit with Simon Sinek. Yeah, just because I feel like I've always just leaned into literally, you know, there's people that you just listen to every word they say, and it doesn't really matter if there's a conflicting argument, you just know that person's right. I just have always just loved Simon's leadership and his empathy and the way he talks about how you should lead with empathy. And I feel like we have a lot in common.
Oh, your answer's so much better than mine.
Yeah.
And last question, what are you both excited for next?
I think what we spoke about today, like putting all of these changes and what did we say this morning? Like changes and like the restructuring, and we've learned so much, like honestly, just in this first 5 days of the month. So I think we're excited for day one of this new phase. Yeah, and putting that all into practice.
Yeah, I would agree with that. You know, day one and day one again. I think that day one again. Yeah, I think that, you know, so just again, life happens for you, not to you. So we've got all these great experiences that have come to us, and we both have this like, you know, really insatiable desire to like progress and to succeed. And it's not on, you know, it'll come on like all the things we've spoken about today, being focused, understand what's going on, support your team, all of these things. Like instead of this, like what people tell you entrepreneurship success is, like I want actual success. I don't care what it looks
people
like.
Think, yeah.
I want like a good business. And I think that it's, you know, we're very fortunate to have what we have and just like make the most of it.
Well, guys, thank you so much. That was an amazing interview. I really appreciate your openness, honesty, and just sharing with our community the hard times, right?
Yeah.
And the good times too.
And the good times.
Yeah.
There's lots of good times. We didn't talk about many good times today, but there are lots of good times. But I think it's important to hear the realness because it's like not a lot of people talk about it.
No,
I think it'll be a different chat if we do it again 12 months time. We'll be able to, you know.
You guys are welcome back.
Yeah, we'll
come back and share.
Cool.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey guys, if you love this episode, make sure to check out this interview with Scooter Braun on how he identifies talent that could go on to find wild success like Justin Bieber and Ariana Grande.
Justin Bieber was the most talented, gifted kid I'd ever met. It was so insane how great of a singer he was, how soulful he was. What he could do on the drums naturally, taught himself with guitar, drums. Like he was a phenomenon. And we met at the perfect time in both of our lives.